Good morning, gentlemen. I'm here with Excellon Resources, with the CEO, Brendan Cahill, and the Senior Vice President of Geology, if I'm not mistaken, Ben Pullinger,
Correct.
To educate us about the latest results of their exploration in Saxony near Freiberg, where Excellon is working on a project that they've named Silver City. And before I ask you about the results, why don't we turn back and ask about the question that you wanted to answer by going there?
Yeah, and I think that's a great place to start. The first question, our project Silver City in the middle of Saxony, Germany, it's 164 square kilometers, 36 kilometers of strike in an area that was mined for 800 years. So an incredible mining history, basically funded the Sachsen monarchy from the 11th century and then, Germany through to the late 19th century. Germany moved off the silver standard in 1873, moved to the gold standard, dropped that in World War II. And then World War I, sorry. And then after World War II, Saxony became part of East Germany. And under the Soviet economic influence, there really just wasn't much interest in high-grade precious metals. Interestingly, the name Silver City comes from the name of Freiberg, which is about, it's basically borders the project just to the southeast. Its nickname is Silberstadt or Silver City. So we really weren't that creative in coming up with the name, but really, the perfect name for an area that has this incredible history of mining. So, when we got on the project earlier this year, or, stepped foot on the ground in late 2019, it was really, this is an area where there's not a whole lot of exploration going on. There's a lot of open pit industrial scale quarry mining for various industrial metals. But, the first question was, can we permit, right? And we put in our drill permits in late January. We had them by late May, and we would have had them sooner, but for the pandemic and the logistical challenges that posed. The next thing was, can we start drilling? What's the community engagement going to be like? And we started drilling in early July, and definitely some curiosity. People hadn't seen a drill rig before, but an incredible amount of support as well. This was an area that was mined up until the late 60s. The Halsbrücke smelter, in operation, a lead smelter, right beside the project until it was open until 1968. So, a lot of people, their uncles or grandfathers certainly were miners. So there's a lot of respect for mining in the area. And it's got one of the world's best mining and metallurgical universities, the University of Freiberg, and the oldest. So it's an incredible place, right? That is just waiting to be re-explored. And especially working with the university, where all of a sudden these incredible PhD students now have a living, breathing exploration project right in their backyard. So we're working very closely with them and the Helmholtz Institute as well. So I guess, Sven, it's really just ticking the boxes, right? Before we turn it over to Ben, it's, we can permit there, we can drill there, we can get on the ground, we can work with the communities and the institutions around, and then it's about confirming what's there. So I think rather than me going on about the geology, especially with Ben here, I'll turn him over to him to talk about what we've hit so far.
Yeah, I think one of the key things you touched on there, Brendan, as well, is during this pandemic and with international mobility being what it is, it's also the access to incredible people that we've had to have been on the ground on our behalf, that have been working with communities and have been executing this project, as well as our drill contractor. It's this initial phase has gone really well. The team has executed flawlessly. And I'm really excited, and I'll get into the geology and stuff and tell you why, but I'm really excited to come back next year and do more drilling as well in areas where I think we've now established probably 4 very strong targets that deserve lots of drilling next year. This is just the overview. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll switch into this. This is just a little apples and apples for you in terms of comparing the size of the Brownsdorf license to a piece of the Fresnillo trend, right? If you took this Brownsdorf license and put it over either Fresnillo or Zacatecas, you would cover 80% of that trend, which has been some of the most productive and highest grade silver produced in the world. in similar rocks, similar geology, but also with modern exploration that continues to make new discoveries, like, so stuff like Juanicipio, for example, and other things coming down the track. This is a special license. It is a special part of the world. The final question, apart from whether or not we could operate and do all the things that Brendan talked about, was could we get proof of concept and be convinced that the geology is there, that it's intact, and that this is the special license and project that we believe it is. And I think from what we've seen in the drilling to date and the initial numbers we put out and what we've seen subsequently, I think the answer is yes. Okay. This is what we went out looking to prove. We've still got some work to do on some of the widths, and I think that'll come with more drilling as we get into areas that we wanted to follow up on, and we're in some places restricted just by the timing of how our program rolled out this year. But we've seen the potential for those high grades. We've seen the potential for wide structures. I think more importantly as well, we've confirmed that there's not just mineralization on the trend there that we went after in the first place, which is that contact between the mica schist and the gneiss, where most of the historical production was. I think very significantly in this project, and I think we'll see as we roll out results from Wolf and Munzich. It's the mafic volcanic and mica schist contact is well mineralized as well, and I think that actually represents significant discovery potential going forward, because I think that was an area that wasn't as well exploited or mined as that main contact.
Ben, before you get too technical, I think we have to be aware that our audience may not be an audience made of geologists. That's why I'd like to take one step back and, looking at this map, remind everyone about the scale of this. I think in altogether you put in 16 holes in an area that's, well, it stretches over 20 kilometers actually, right? So it's really, what was the purpose of drilling that way instead of focusing, for example, zooming in on one target, which might have done as well?
Yeah, I mean, we really didn't know what to expect when we started. And, working with Matthias Jörgheit at Globex, we put this program together. And the plan here was really go out, test as many of these targets as we could, get as much proof of concept, and then establish kind of like how big of a program do we need? How big is the prize here? So we bounced around, we tested the targets that we could also access. We were a little, because of our delay with COVID and stuff, we're a little bit slow getting started. So we had to work with farmers. So there were some areas that we could drill, and we had different kind of time zones that we could get into and out of places. And I got to say, like, working with the farmers and working with the community and the support that we had for moving our drill rig around and stuff was the best I've seen. So I was really, really impressed by that. But we wanted to test a bunch of targets and see where we ended up at the end of this. Get that proof of concept, prove up that geology, and more importantly, in some of our conceptual targets, prove that there's life beyond these old mines, and that that whole system is productive, that whole structural contact is productive, and we definitely did that in this program. And as I said, that secondary, that northern trend, which wasn't really the center of most production historically, has lit up for us as an opportunity for new discovery. So we're quite excited about all the things that we're seeing. And the results so far.
Drilling your last two holes there up in the north at Munzig, but where the Munzig mine was, right?
Correct.
Good. Okay. Well, it's for me, it's fascinating. You have released 7 results so far. There's 7. Well, there's actually eventually 9 more essays to be released. What is your take on the results as such? If you want to comment on grades, widths, or how would you put that into perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go back to scale, and your question on scale is correct. You think of this as 36 kilometers, and you look at 50 kilometers from Fresnillo to Zacatecas, that probably has thousands of drill holes into it. And we've got 36 kilometers or 30 kilometers now, which we've got by the end of this program, we'll have around 16 drill holes into. I think my take on it is that this is a big project with an incredible amount of potential. We've seen mineralization and mineralized geology on just about every drill hole that we've drilled. We have a much better appreciation for the controls of mineralization and the impact of structure and how that works for us going forward to target on both of those mineralized contacts and we now have a clear shot at 3 or 4 targets that need more drilling that we can come back to next year and get better results. I think on grade, I'm happy with what we're starting to see on grade, especially around the Peter vein, the Klein-Feuersbach area. It's I think the follow-up program, what we'd like to see is some bigger widths with those kind of grades, and then we're getting exactly what we came here looking for.
You partially already answered my question. Maybe Brendan, you want to step in there as well. You are already alluding to the continuation of that program into next year. What can you tell us about that to date, Brendan?
Yeah, I mean, and Ben can talk about it as well, but it's the kind of project which it's never seen a drill hole, right? Certainly not for precious metals. And so that's like really part of the question we want to ask, as Ben notes, like, is there a potentially mineralizing system here? Is there an epithermal system here, right? And we've confirmed that on pretty much every hole. I think on 13 of the 14 holes we've drilled so far, we're hitting an epithermal system. And then the next thing is like, is there the potential for silver mineralization there? We've definitely confirmed that, drilling 0.5 meter at over 1 kilo per ton silver equivalent and 911 grams silver alone. So we know that there's silver mineralization there, but linked with that kind of grade we're getting, we're also seeing kinds of silver mineralization that you really don't see in that many places around the world. And I'll wade into geology a bit, but Paragorite and Freibergite and seeing native silver as well, you don't see that very often. So when you can get on a project like this and have, really a district scale, a camp scale project, and you see this kind of mineralization on the first drill holes and you're hitting it over 12 kilometers, you don't walk away, yes. Right? And you go back and you test more. And we're already seeing, some widths that are getting respectable, half a meter at a kilo per ton it's getting there. And so it's really, we got to follow up, find those areas where the zones open up a bit, more of that high grade fluid can come in and have broader widths of mineralization. But the key thing is big epithermal system over potentially tens of kilometers with all of the high grade silver species and mineralization that, you dream of hitting anywhere in the world.
Yeah, well, understood. So what is potentially going to be the next methodical step to give it justice? More drilling, or do you want to wait for the evaluation of the results for example, in collaboration with Helmholtz as well? Just give us a little bit of an outlook of what's to come next year, potentially.
Yeah, I think the first thing, Sven, is get all the information back and sit down and really smash everyone's heads together and get some ideas out. What we've learned for sure though is we need to pay attention to structure. So we've got some structural work to do. There's on the back of that, there's a lot of geophysics that we want to do. Really getting a good handle on the location and orientation and shape of these controlling mineralized structures. And then, as I said earlier, we've got 4 strong targets for immediate follow-up with drilling. So our plan would be to go back, follow up on those, put some more holes into that while developing the regional program, while working on that structural work, doing some more geophysics, and starting to develop the next 4 targets as well. So it'll be a continue to, as you said, be a methodical, staged approach with working from the known to the unknown.
Well, yeah, and I think the exact scale of that program right now, we're in the budgeting phase right now, and it is partially getting the rest of the results back, seeing what other targets we have to drill. But certainly, Ben can correct me, Reichenbach, Peter vein, Bronsdorf, areas we have to get back to. Grauerwolf looking interesting from the start. So those are areas we have to get back to next year. Fortuna, the Fortuna zone, this is an area where we didn't get a lot of high grade silver mineralization, but we're picking up the structure. We know that this structure is continuing through this area and it's lying under cover. So there really hasn't been any mining there historically. So it's an area that we definitely have to go back to and see if we can find anything that wasn't discovered because it didn't stick up out of the ground 500 or 150 years ago.
I get it. Basically, it's also fair to remind our listeners or viewers that there was about a $1 million Canadian dollar budget earmarked for this year. So that yielded these 16 drill holes. And well, I'm looking forward to hearing or getting to know the budget for next year. But it's obviously already clear that this is a project that you need to pursue and need to follow up on.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we're talking about now really will be a first step next year. As Ben's bashing heads together, but it is kind of like further solidifying that team and increasing our presence on the ground for the long haul. This was a test program. We do need kind of more support and our own infrastructure there. In terms of core storage and the like. So that's something we're going to be developing early this year, so that we can be here for years, right? And really start to unlock this district entirely.
On that note, being here for years, you ironically or tragically, let's say, unfortunately, weren't able to make it yourself, Ben, neither you nor Brandon, this year. For attending the drilling, which is very unusual. Hopefully, very hopeful that we'll see you on the ground both eventually next year. And with that, I thank you for that update. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Ben?
No, just that this is the first drill program in my career I haven't been on the ground for, or when it started up, so it's a bit weird for me. But again, it's one of the reasons we think this project is so special. It's you have the geology, you have the history, you have the expertise, and then we have the support from the Helmholtz Institute, from the University of Freiberg, from our other partners and stakeholders. So it really is an incredible project, and we look forward to getting back on the ground next year.
I think one of the points there is that we haven't been able to be on the ground, but Ben's put together an incredible team. And they've done great work and really have developed ideas, pitched ideas, run the program, executed the program, and Ben's on Zoom with them and kind of leading that, but it's kind of a credit to him, the team he's put together, as he's done in Idaho and down in Mexico as well. It just really goes to show the importance of people. And this is an area where there's great people for exploration, certainly. Okay, thank you both for joining today, and we're looking forward to next updates, and of course the next set of results that supposedly comes out maybe early next year or maybe this year. What do you think? We'll see. I mean, we don't want to make predictions because the assaying, like everybody in the world right now, just big delays on assays, and certainly these first 7 holes took a long time to come back. So I don't want to make any promises, but hopefully soon. Okay, thank you.